Ladies, do not date men when you are feeling vulnerable. And I'll tell you why in just a second. So, hello, my name is Greta Bereshit. I'm dating and relationship coach for women. For the awesome high value women secrets, subscribe to my channel and hit the bell to be notified when I upload new videos, which are usually on Sundays. And in between, I usually upload some shorts or little chapters. So there's always plenty of content for you to take in and learn from. And just before I will share with you my thoughts and ideas and why you should not date men when you're feeling vulnerable, when you are hitting your rock bottom, I have a free goodie for you ladies to download. It's called Love at Last. It's also available on my website for the download. And if you didn't get it yet, I highly recommend you to get my book. It's called Devoted Relationships. If you would actually love to become a woman of high value from the core. And now, my queens, without further ado, let's kind of get on with the subject. I do have some notes that I'm kind of gonna go through, just so I don't drop off my topic, as I'm probably not gonna be editing this video since I'm filming it from my phone. And so why am I saying do not date men when you are vulnerable? Ladies, think about it logically, right? What happens when we are vulnerable? We usually are feeling low about ourselves, right? We are perhaps at our lowest lows. Perhaps we are in our rock bottom. And I understand when women hit rock bottom, we feel like we kind of want a man to save them. And to be honest, even I myself feel like that sometimes, you know, if I'm at the lowest lows, like I have these ideas of like, oh, I wish I would just get this Prince Charming who would just come and save me, right? So I'm sure pretty many women feel like this, especially when we're feeling weak and vulnerable, because we think like, oh, a man will give us safety, security, he can save you, he can lift you up, treat you nice, he'll appreciate you and stuff like that. Now, the problem with this type of mindset is that nowadays it's very unlikely to happen. Insanely unlikely to happen. And the reasons why are, when you are feeling vulnerable and when you're, let's say, in your rock bottom and you're starting to date, right? And when you go on those dates, your vulnerabilities, your feelings of unworthiness reflect on the date. And they reflect on the date because you come across like desperate for a man. You're like, oh, I'm so low, I desperately need you to save me. Or I'm looking for somebody that has money to like pay my debts. Or I'm looking for somebody that can provide for me. Or perhaps I'm mourning and I'm sad and upset and I'm looking for somebody to make me happy, to make me laugh, right? So when you go on the date, you bring this kind of heavy energy towards you, and it reflects on you. And when a man looks at you, he's kind of thinking like, what is there for me? Because same as you ladies have expectations for what you want in a man, when he looks at you, he kind of thinks like, what is there for me? What value can she bring? What benefit could it be? Can she make me happy? Can she make me laugh? Is she a woman of self-control? Is she a woman of self-worth? Is she a woman of self-value? Can she stand on her own 2 feet? Is she a strong woman? And when you come on a date feeling vulnerable, you're obviously presenting yourself in a way like as weak, as desperate. And I'll tell you a couple of ways how men see it, right? So for example, majority of the times when women are feeling weak or desperate, they put men high on a pedestal. So we go like, oh, we start to give men compliments, like we go like, oh, you're so handsome and you're so this and you're so that. We think that by praising a guy by putting him high up, she will give him compliments, and that way he will start to like her. A lot of times it's actually a turn off for a man unless he's really insecure, because who likes compliments? We women like compliments because we like to be adored and cherished, right? So it's like, oh, you're so pretty, you're so this, you're so that. So when you give compliments to a woman, she feels secure and confident and cherished and lovely. But when you give lots of compliments to a man, especially about his looks, he kind of starts to feel a bit like, oh, she seems to be really into me, she's kind of hitting on me, she's pursuing me, she's approaching me, you know. And at the same time, in many ways, you're actually making him feel like a girl. It's like it's a big put off. So when we feel vulnerable, we start to shower men with compliments and it turns them off. Another thing what women do when we feel vulnerable and not worthy enough, they show their insecurities by competing with other women, by, let's say, asking men insecure questions. So perhaps he's a busy, successful man, or he's just a busy type of guy, and maybe he's not giving you much attention, or let's say he's not texting you all day, every single day. And what women start to do, they go like, are you talking to someone else? Or I know you're single, so you must be dating a lot of women and I'm just one of them, you know? So you kind of start to put yourself down in his eyes and saying like, kind of like, I know I'm not worthy of all of your attention because I don't have much to offer, so you must be dating others. So in a way, unknowingly, you're putting yourself down because you are feeling unworthy. So this is what I mean. It reflects when you're in your lowest lows, it reflects in your dating. Because if you were not in the lowest lows, you would not be talking like this. If you would have your life together, if you would be happy, if your family would be telling you that, you know, you have a lot of value, you have a lot of worth, and you're feeling confident and strong, you would never talk about yourself like this. You would be like, of course he's only dating me, look at me, I'm so cool, like why would he be dating others, you know? So there is a big difference between a woman that values herself and a woman that doesn't value herself. And men, more mature men that have experience in life, they see it, they notice it. So now going to my other point is, no man will marry a woman nowadays that he feels sorry for, because again, when you're feeling unworthy, when you're in a bad place, what are you doing? You're most likely chasing him by calling him a lot. When he doesn't pick up the phone, most likely you're feeling insecure. When you're feeling insecure, you're comparing yourself with all these other girls. You get a lot of assumptions. Maybe he's dating all these other girls. I'm probably not the only one. Maybe he's cheating on me. Then you start to accuse him on cheating on you, even if he's not. So you start to behave in very unattractive ways. You start to lose emotional control, right? So like, why would he marry that? It doesn't make sense. This is all low value behavior. But when you're coming from a place of security and confidence because you have made a good life for yourself, you will have emotional control. You will be busy focusing on your life, on your goals. You will be kind of like, when he will be introducing you to his family or friends, you'll be coming from a place looking at his family and friends and thinking like, ooh, what do we get on with my family and friends? What are their manners? How are they treating me? How is he treating me? Are they good enough for me, right? So when you're coming from a place of value and worth, you're kind of looking at it like, is he and his family and friends are good enough for me? When you're coming from a place of unworthy, you're coming to meet his family or friends and you're trying to people please them, you're trying to impress them, you're constantly thinking, am I good enough for them? Am I as successful as them? Have I achieved as much as they did? Am I as pretty as the girls were? You know, so it's like these are two very big differences. And majority of men will go for this. I'm sorry, majority of high value men, majority of men that are mature, confident, strong, that have self-control, emotional control, that value themselves, that value others, that do the right thing, they will go for this. However, there are still men that will go for this. And you know what type of men will go for this? It will be the toxic men. Because the toxic men that feel unvaluable and unworthy and insecure themselves will go for this type of woman because they will relate to this. However, when two toxic people match, what happens? They end up having a toxic life. They abuse one another based on their own insecurities and the beliefs they've been raised with. And when they, the family, let's say, has children and, they raise children in not very good ways. And then, it's just becomes really, really unhealthy. So ladies, my point is, if you are in this position, instead of dating, work on yourself, work on your value, work on your self-worth, and build a good life for yourself, and then open yourself to date others. Now, what I wanted to say towards self-value and self-worth, I know I have names like low value and high value, but at the end of the day, in God's eyes, we all have exactly the same value. God sees us all exactly the same. We are all valuable and worthy. However, we need to show it. We need to show our value and worth by doing the right thing, by being confident, by being fearless, by never being afraid, by keep going for the right thing. And if you are being afraid, if you are feeling unworthy, if you are doing the wrong thing, if you are losing emotional control, if you are sinning, if you are living in chaos, you're not really following God's word. Therefore, this is why you're feeling, weak and vulnerable and unworthy, because, besides God, there is only the enemy, and the enemy will make sure that you will stay in your lowest lows, right? Because that's his plan. That's the goal for your life from the enemy, right? Anyway, I'm not gonna get into this whole preaching, that's not what the channel is about, but that was my point. However, I wanted to finish this video by sharing a story, and it's actually about my grandmother. And the story is very unique because I cannot imagine this happening nowadays. So so there was a war, and during the war, an army, my grandma lived in a small town, in a small village with her family. I think she was about 20 years old. Her husband went to war. He died at war. So I think at 21, I'm sorry, I don't know the age correctly, she became a widow, right? And she started to live with her family. one day she went berry picking in the woods, right? And there was an army that attacked the house, attacked the whole village, and took everybody from the house, and by force put the people in carriages and took them to Siberia, right? And so I don't want to say the names, but that's not what the channel is about. But you know, like, they basically took the whole family to Siberia, right? And my grandma comes back home after berry picking, and she sees that the house is occupied by the foreign army, and she cannot return home anymore, and she's the only one left that was not taken to Siberia, right? So she runs to another town. There was kind of a man living that had a good name, that people knew that they could trust this man. And she runs to him, and the man was called like a man that worked in a mill, and whoever worked in a mill back then did quite well, right? So she runs to him and she tells him the story, to a man in a mill, right? And he felt sorry for her. He felt sorry for her. You know, my grandma came from a good family. The whole family was taken to Siberia. She's the only one survival, and that big, huge house is occupied by the army. She cannot go back there. However, there was one thing that mailman could do for her, and the only thing that he could do for her was to actually marry her. And this is what he did. My granddad married my grandma because he knew that he can save her and help her by marrying her and actually giving her the property back. So what happened, he married her, and then with her he went back to that house which army occupied, and somehow they were able to tell the army to leave because he was married to her. Somehow, I don't know how the rules worked back then in like that occupation season, you know. And you know, we ended up living in that house until I think many years down the line. The rest of my grandma's family came back from Siberia and was able to live back in that house again. So my point is, like, maybe in the past were men that had really strong values and still did the right thing, you know. Obviously, I'm not saying my grandma was ugly and he just married her because he felt sorry for her. Maybe she was very beautiful and he found her attractive. However, he didn't not marry her out of love. He married her because he did the right thing, right? But I don't think, like, I have not heard of any stories like that ever again, you know. So, and where I live here, and I lived in London for at least 10 years, minimum 10 years, if you are in a vulnerable situation, you will only find men that are there to take advantage of you. High value men will not, because they'll just find you unattractive and they will move on. They will look for somebody on kind of their own level. But a low value toxic man, they will be very happy and they will come after you and they will take advantage of you and they will use you and they will abuse you even more. And even if those type of relationships still end up like marrying each other, long term, it's just pure abuse, you know. And it's sad, you know. So that's how it is. So ladies, do not date when you are in the rock bottom, when you are feeling vulnerable. Work on yourself first and then open yourself for dating. So ladies, I hope you enjoyed my little video. I was planning to do a live today, but the internet connection is so bad. I have really bad internet connection when it rains. So here you got my video instead. If you liked it, don't forget to like it. If you would like some one-on-one coaching on how to become a woman of high value, I'm here for you. Just book me through my website, gretabereshita.com. And that is it. I'll leave you like that. Kisses from Kisses from Dorset. Have a lovely day. Mwah.